Hey, I'm the Ret of all trades, and last month I hosted 10 panels in an hour at First Square 2024. So far, 9 of them are online, and you're getting the final one today. You can find the first 3 on YouTube, those are the ones on the top row, while the other 6 are on Ratreon, for paying members only. Here's number 10, which will be followed by an announcement about what's coming up next on this channel. Basically, I'm either reacting to Taskmaster or to Tiny Toons, but I haven't decided yet, and there's other stuff too. Anyway, that'll be at the end of the video. And here's number 10. What the heck is going on with Coyote versus Acme? Most of you have probably heard something about this already. In fact, I posted my own video back in November, but a lot has happened since then, so you're about to get all those juicy details. Coyote vs. Acme is a hybrid animated live-action film about, of course, Wile Coyote, as he sues the Acme Corporation for selling him faulty products for decades and decades. The film was completed in 2023, so you might expect we'd have seen it by now, but we have not. Latest we heard, it might have been written off as a tax write-off by the CEO of Warner Brothers, but we're not sure. All right, so not being able to see the movie is a problem because we won't be able to see the movie, but also, if it gets completely shelved, that means a lot of the artists, set people, and writers, etc., aren't going to be paid everything that they thought they were going to be paid. Let's get into the history. This first page is going to be pretty simple. Basically, the movie began production, then it continued production, then it ended production. And sometime during the middle of that, the release date was changed. So, yeah, like I mentioned, Barbie took its release date. So after that, things were quiet on the Coyote versus Acme front, and we didn't know when it was going to come out. On the next page is where things get interesting. So there was a SAG-AFTRA writers' strike all throughout Hollywood that started in July and ended on November 8th. So during that time, it was kind of understandable that we weren't hearing much about a lot of movies because everything everywhere was in turmoil. But the very day after we got the news that we didn't want to hear, which is Coyote versus Acme was going to be shelved for a $30 million tax write-off. That, of course, was the brilliant idea of CEO David Zaslav, or at least he thought it was a brilliant idea, but immediately there was a ton of backlash to that. A whole ton of backlash online, like on Twitter and social media everywhere. But more importantly, there was backlash within the industry. Several executives canceled meetings with Warner Brothers, citing that as the reason. And within a few days, the decision was apparently reversed. Zaslav said, you know what, we still don't want to release this, but we could shop it around to other marketers to see if they want to buy the movie from us. After all, that is what happened to another Looney Tunes movie recently. That's The Day the Earth Blew Up, which was bought by GFM Animations and is expected to release in fall of this year. After that, there were several screenings of the film to potential buyers, and for a couple of months, we didn't hear anything as we assumed things were just working out behind the scenes. Then things get messy. We knew that Coyote vs. Acme had gotten shelved, and then unshelved, but then it got reshelved. We didn't hear about this from Warner Brothers, of course. We heard about it from some people in the industry who actually cared about the movie. Apparently, Zaslav and others said they wanted to just put this behind them and make it go away quietly. But on the contrary, Looney Tunes fans were not quiet at all about it. They kicked up just as much of a storm as they did the first time, And they kept that up until February 23rd, which is when the Q4 Warner Brothers earnings call was. If Coyote vs. Acme was going to be shelved, this is the date it would happen. As it turns out, the earnings call came and went with no mention of Looney Tunes whatsoever, let alone the movie. But Warner Brothers did claim $115 million write-off on various projects that they did not name. For most folks, that was probably all, folks. It was pretty clear that what probably happened was the film was shelved, but not for everyone. There was one shining ray of hope a couple weeks later, and that was at the 96th Academy Awards, where Sammy Birch, one of the writers of the film, was quickly interviewed on the red carpet, and she said that talks about the film and selling the film were still ongoing. So that means Coyote vs. Acme is still in a state of limbo. Wile E. Coyote is hanging above the air, not knowing if he's going to be saved or if he's going to fall. Okay, so let's back up. Why is this important? Why is this different? This isn't the first time films have been canceled. The executives are allowed to do basically whatever they want with the finished product as long as they aren't breaking any laws, and canceling is not breaking laws. So there are a few other times this has happened, like Scoob, Batgirl, and also Stephen King's Salem's Lot. Those are all Warner Brothers properties, although the Stephen King one is supposedly coming back. So that's what we're hoping is going to happen for Coyote vs. Acme. But anyway, there are various excuses used for this. For Batgirl, I kind of understand. The executives claimed that the finished product was just not good, and they didn't want to release an embarrassing film. Now, whether or not it is that bad, I don't know, but that was their excuse at the time. Also, there's always financial issues. Warner Brothers is in big debt and trying to crawl out of it, so it wants to save money where it can. And if it thinks that a movie isn't going to make enough to cover the costs of any further work like marketing and distributing, then yeah, Warner Brothers has the right to not release the film. I hate saying that, but we're talking strictly legally here and not morally. So, what reasons are Warner Brothers giving for the cancellation of this movie? Why? Why is this happening? Honestly, the answer isn't immediately obvious. We know it's not because it was incomplete. We also know it's not because it was a bad movie and was going to be embarrassing. Actually, Coyote vs. Acme got test scores in the high 90s and a whole lot of praise. So those are like similar scores to something like Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, all right? So maybe the answer has something to do with money. Actually, money very often is the answer, but in this case it doesn't quite make sense. Of course, any movie never has a guarantee of making money for the studio, but at this point, with all the support that's been shown and all the free marketing that the movie has had, I'd be really surprised if this Coyote vs. Acme lost money. So those reasons don't really make sense. Also, remember, Warner Brothers was supposed to be shopping this around for to other distributors. So they obviously got offers. We know they got offers, and we don't know the exact amounts, but the amounts definitely would have been bigger than $30 million. Which means, why don't they do that? They would have gotten more than if they had done a tax write-off. So the numbers don't make sense for some reason. As you can see, this why question has become a very confounding question. So, is there anything else going on? I think there is, actually. The film is called Coyote versus Acme, but it could also be called The People versus Greedy Corporations. The Acme Company is a huge mega corporation doing all sorts of shady business practices and even illegal activity to get as much money as possible without without any care for regular consumers. And Wile E. Coyote is fighting against that. Oh, doesn't that sound familiar somehow? The more I think about this, I think this has to be at least part of the reason Warner Brothers is so adverse to releasing the film. Maybe there's some financial aspect too that I'm not getting, but I find it hard to believe that they would be digging their heels this hard after all the support that's been shown from fans who haven't even seen it if this ego problem weren't at least part of the issue. Anyway, here's my miscellaneous slide. There are a ton of other aspects of this case that I could discuss, but here's a quick mention of just a few of them. First, the leaks. There's a ton of leaks. The film itself has not been leaked, but we've gotten some crazy stuff like a crew reel of behind-the-scenes footage. It was set to I Fought the Law and the Law Won. And there's an actual plot summary that we got a couple weeks ago that a couple people who worked on the film have confirmed to be correct. That's just one form of support, though. There's also a petition to release it with over 20,000 signatures as of the end of March. And so many people have been speaking up about this, including Eric Bauza. He's a prolific voice actor, if you don't know, who landed about 10 different roles in the film. And this February, Bauza was on stage at the Annie Awards, and he had Bugs and Daffy make a passionate plea to the audience to release the film. And let me tell you, the crowd loved that. In my previous Coyote vs. Acme video, I hazarded a guess that David Zaslav had not yet seen the film, and actually that has been confirmed. Even the other executives only saw a partial cut. Besides those, at one point, U.S. Congressman Joaquin Castro was calling for a federal investigation of Warner Brothers regarding several strange business moves, including Coyote vs. Acme, but I haven't heard anything about that recently. But he's fighting for the taxpayers, and speaking of taxpayers, I just want to point out a depressing comment I heard once. Basically, a tax write-off means that tax money is being given to a company when it's facing financial trouble, and that means American taxpayers would literally be paying to not see a movie if this is truly going to be a write-off. Yeah. And one more depressing story, because why not? Eric Bauza, as we mentioned above, he's been very vocal of his support for the movie, and he was also a big force in the SAG-AFTRA strike. But he mentioned in one interview that the day after the strike ended, the first thing he was doing was talking on the phone with the movie producers to try to figure out cool and funny ways to market Coyote vs. Acme, and that's when they got a different call saying it was canned. So, yeah. That leaves us with the question, what can we do to save Wile? And the rest of the Looney Tunes, honestly. I do think this is a threat to Looney Tunes as a whole, actually. Anyway, back in November, Zaslav made an about-face after people started canceling meetings with him, and that's what I'm hoping is happening now. We do know from Sammy Birch that something is happening behind the scenes, and I think those behind-the-scenes dealings are the only path for this movie to be saved. That means all we, as viewers and fans, can do is keep vocalizing support. Keep showing that we want to see the movie, and we want to see it released, hopefully in theaters. Heck, I've been wanting them to go all the way and make Wile E. Coyote merchandise too, but I'll settle for a release date. That way, whoever actually is trying to convince David Zaslav to change his mind will have some sort of leverage by showing all the support the movie has. All right. Wiley's been hanging in midair for like 15 minutes now. Or actually, like 4 months or more. Let's build him a bridge, okay? Or, like, get him a net or a mattress or something. So, any questions? I can't answer any questions while I'm recording this because you haven't asked them yet, but what I can do is make some announcements.
I'm making a big announcement.
What's happening next for the Rat of All Trades? Several things, actually. First, Ratmos Radio episode number 2 is now up on Ratreon. That's ratreon.com/ratofalltrades, and it's free, just like episode 1 was free, so you don't have to be a paying Ratron to listen to it. Basically, I'm spending a bit over an hour just sharing my favorite music, so if you've got a long car ride, put that on. Next, we've got more reactions coming up. I bet you missed those. But I haven't decided yet what it might be. There's 2 options. It could be Taskmaster Series 17, right? I just did Series 16, that was great. Or it could be Tiny Toons Luniversity Season 2. I'm excited about both of them, but I don't have time for both of them, at least not immediately. So I am putting up a poll. All right. Go, I'll put a link down. Go to the poll right now and tell me which do you want to see first. I'll hopefully do both of them, but at least you can tell me which one to do first. Beyond that, I'm taking a short trip to see the eclipse next weekend, so I'll be excited to start working on stuff again right after that. There's one project in particular that I'm really hoping I can share there. I just need to make some sort of progress on that soon before I share it. But yeah, that's what's happening on the channel, so go get to that poll, and I will squeak you next time.